Hi, my name is Justin Chung, and I am going to talk about my bullying and cyberbullying presentation. Alright, so these are the research questions that we came up with. 1, what is bullying? 2, is it different between girls and boys per se? Is it a learned behavior, or is it just inherent in our nature? What are the laws in place to prevent bullying? What are the effects of bullying, and can we see these effects later in their lives? Why do people bully others, and does bullying cause young people who are students to commit suicide? So, let's begin. What is bullying and what is cyberbullying? Bullying, all right, it's not just when friends call each other like, hey, what up, fatty? It's more of a consistent harassment that can affect others. Right? Dictionary states that bullying is using superior strength or influence to intimidate someone, typically forcing him or her to do what one wants. Right? Cyberbullying is the same thing as bullying, but simply using electronics to do that, to intimidate or influence others to doing something that they want. Right? So, if we go on to our second research question, how does bullying differ amongst the genders? Well, it seems that boys are more likely to bully others than girls. Right? We found this consistent to be true across many other countries and cultural groups as well. Right? The difference between boys and girls when it comes to bullying is that boys tend to physically bully others rather than, emotionally or in ways of like sexual harassment compared to other girls. Right? When it comes to boys and girls, they do exhibit similar levels of electronic, verbal, and social bullying. Right? When it comes to victimization, though, it's different between boys and girls, right? Again, like we mentioned in the previous slide, boys tend to report higher levels of physical kind of victimization rather than girls. Says that girls were reported to being bullied more than boys in the majority of the 40 countries that were surveyed, but this trend was inconsistent across their age gaps, right? It seems girls are more victimized by sexual harassment and emotional abuse rather than boys, right? I guess, not to say that boys don't feel emotional bullying, like if we were to call a guy fat versus a girl fat, it's just stating that it seems that boys tend to show that they aren't really victims, they kind of own up to it more than girls, I guess. It seems that girls are more cyberbullied more than guys, whereas guys, again, are more physically abused in most instances. So as we can see here in our stats, this is cyberbullying amongst middle schoolers, right? So we see that the smaller columns, those are just people that say they've been recently cyberbullied, right? Doesn't seem like that much, but if we look at the taller columns, that simply means they've been cyberbullied throughout their entire life. Well, not throughout their entire life, but within their lifetime, they've been cyberbullied in one way or another, right? So it's not that it's like they're always being bullied, but it seems like a lot of people have experienced bullying or cyberbullying at some point in their lives. Now, this is, again, a graph about cyberbullying when it comes to genders between the ages of 12 to 17-year-olds. This was a national representative sample done. The green ones are the females and the boys are the males. Right? It's about 50-50 relatively, so it's not like the study was done with mostly boys or mostly girls. It's about half. We see that girls say they've been cyberbullied at one point in their lives rather than boys. So there's a little bit more cyberbullying for girls, we can see that. But it seems that boys cyberbully others more than girls do, which is interesting. I would think it'd be the exact opposite. So, on to our next research question. Is bullying a learned trait or is it something more inherent? Well, it's a little bit of both, actually. Yes, it is, in fact, learned, something we, as young people, see and observe and kind of do ourselves, right? And something you can't really unlearn, which is a problem, right? So this is why we should try to stop bullying at a very young age before it becomes a bigger issue when they're older. Right? These can stem from things they see at home, things they see at school, on the TV, and at the park, right? And if it's acceptable there, then they think it's okay to do it somewhere else, right? Now, experiment was done to see if it was more inherent in our nature. Right? So we have this little video that was done by a professor, Kylie Hamlin. Babies aged 9 to 14 months were found to take pleasure in bullying of individuals they saw as different as themselves. So we noticed that there's this orange rabbit, and he's not liking the green beans, but the orange one does like the carrots.
Yum, I like green beans.
Right? The green one likes the green beans, and guess what? He doesn't like the carrots.
I don't like graham crackers.
Oh, sorry, graham crackers, right? So these young babies, all right, they found pleasure when they were like, oh, hey, this baby, this puppet likes graham crackers, all right? They're more likely to be on that orange rabbit, the puppet side, versus the green rabbit side, because it was different from them, right? So perhaps this could show that perhaps we are born as bullies. If we don't see anything similar to ourselves, we're more likely to lash out and be like, well, you're not like me. I don't like that. Right? So it could be learned, and it could be something we're born with. Right? Well, we see that bullying can cause from these things. Right? Come from strained parental relationships, having inconsistent discipline, or having poor academic performance. Right? If our parents aren't caring at home, then they might lash out in other ways to try to kind of achieve these their affection from their parents, right? If there's inconsistent discipline, right? If I do something bad and sometimes I'm punished, sometimes I'm not, there's no limits, right? And I don't know what I can get away with, right? And having poor academic performance, if I fail a class while someone else didn't, I might be jealous and lash out at them because I didn't pass, instead of trying to improve myself and try to bring others down instead, right? Having just bad friends or unsupportive peer networks can cause people to be bullied, right? Being a part of child abuse, even being a victim of bullying can cause you to bully others, which is crazy. It causes this kind of downward spiral of I bully you, therefore you bully him, he bullies her, and it just kind of goes on, right? So it seems like all these reasons for bullying, right? It's not really like they enjoy it, but rather it's a defensive mechanism where they want to protect themselves and they lash out because of it, like most animals, right? Like you go to a dog and you don't know what's going on, he's more likely to bite you, versus someone where you've shown love and caring and affection for them, they're more likely not to. Now here are some forms of cyberbullying, right? Sending mean messages, sending unflattering pictures, stealing their account and pretending to be someone else, things like that, spreading rumors. Again, this can be done in person, like if I send a threatening note that I wrote, that's bullying, or if I send it online, that's just cyberbullying, right? Right, so here are some of the anti-bullying laws and regulations that are in place. Not all cities and states have the same laws, so what happens in Texas might be okay, but what happens in Nevada might not be okay. So we have to bear that in mind and know exactly what our own state defines and what we can't or cannot do, right? So we have to define what bullying is before we have to make a law of it, right? So the Act defines bullying as any severe or pervasive physical or verbal conduct that is directed toward another student and can be, quote unquote, be reasonably predicted to place a reasonable student in fear of harm to the person or their property, cause mental health issues, affect their academic performance, or stop them from being a part of school services activity or privileges, right? So that could simply mean like ripping up their books, constantly hazing them in the locker room, or just causing them, like bullying them at lunch to the point where they don't want to be at school anymore. Cyberbullying, the laws under that are the same, but adding the whole like electronic component to it, right? Nothing too, but I say that it seems that when it comes to cyberbullying, it's more of a sexual act, it seems, as we've noticed throughout this presentation. These are what the laws that are in place protects people over, whether it's disability, their gender identity or expression, their nationality, their race, ethnicity, their religion, or their sexual orientation. Right? Now, just an interesting thought. I just thought that when I think bullying, I think of like weight issues, and that's not under these kind of characteristics, right? You can't protect someone, I guess, if due to their weight, whether they're really skinny or really fat, because that's something you can change. But I guess all of these things, I guess except for religion, you can't really change. You know, if you lost a leg, or if you are a male, or if you are a certain nationality, those are things you can't really change. So, here are more anti-bullying laws and regulations. It seems that the schools within the UC system are required to establish anti-bullying policies and procedures. These are all the Cal Ed codes, right? You can find those, I believe, on what is it? edcode.com. I'm not too sure quite at this moment off the top of my head. But wow, just looking at a person convicted of this misdemeanor, it's not a felony of bullying, you can be fined with $1,000 or more just for calling someone. Or I guess no, sorry, never mind. Anyways, these are some signs of bullying: unexplainable injuries, self-harm, avoiding social engagement. You know, like going to dances, talking about suicide, skipping meals, faking illness, having bad grades. And I think that's all understandable, but you know, just notice that just because they have these signs doesn't mean they are being bullied. It could be other things like neglect at home. They're also similar to that, right? Such as unexplainable injuries. That could be abuse at home, not just bullying, right? You can see how loss of interest in school could happen if they're worried about their own lives, right? If maybe they're getting viciously beaten up every day. I wouldn't care about how my grades are in English would be if I'm worried about how I'm gonna, you know, survive the next day. So here are some effects of bullying. It not only affects the person being bullied, the person bullying the person, but also the people watching and maybe not doing anything, right? Most of these instances, it's just increased use of drugs, alcohol, causing depression, and just kind of engaging in risky behaviors throughout the entire spectrum for everyone watching, for everyone being bullied, and the person being bullied. It's just all very not good things, right? For example, the bullier could be part of IPV, intimate partner violence, because they've been so used to just getting their way. When they get angry or something, they could lash out with violence, because that's how they've done things. Right? So again, those were the effects of bullying, and these are the effects of cyberbullying. Right? Again, just more bad things like skipping school, using drugs and alcohol, lower self-esteem, while the longer lasting effects tend to be more physical, emotional, and psychological. Again, I guess the effects of bullying tend to become those who are different from their peers, just like with those babies. Anyone that's different from me, I'm gonna lash out. Those that are weak and are undefend themselves are one of the more of the risk factors that are involved, being depressed or having low self-esteem. Like, why is this happening to me? So why do people bully? Right? Well, so far it's really a more complex thing than to be able to put it onto these 7 things, but these are just the more common reasons that researchers have found to cause people to bully others. Right? Stress and trauma. Right? If your parents divorced, for example, or your little sister died, maybe you don't know how to really, internalize this information, and you lash out and cause negative behaviors to occur. Right? Aggressive behaviors for things that start off the moment they show, like for guys, for example, if they are, they show feminine qualities, like if they're emotional, then they'll get made fun of, and they'll lash out in that way, like, hey, no. Like, I'm not like that, and they'll bully others to be like, well, because of that, right? Again, if you've been bullied, then that can cause you to bully others. Again, just creating this huge negative cycle. If you have low self-esteem, if you don't like how you look, you might lash out and bully others because of that. If you have problems at home, right? Have low access to education, or if all your friends and family, there's not really a strong bond between them and you could cause people to bully others in that sense because they lack the confidence for that. So, again, it's more complex than that, than to put it in these 7. But Rigby, one of the researchers, found that in 2008 these were the 6 most common power resources. Just simply being physically able to hurt others, just because you were bigger, caused people to bully. Just because you have more numbers, right? There's like 6 of us and 1 of you, and you don't agree with us, we're just going to make fun of you. Those who are more confident and assertive will just likely make fun of you at your expense and feel nothing about it because, you know, they're confident in themselves. They don't worry about any backlash. If you're really good at manipulating others, if you have higher status, that could cause you to bully others, and just being sophisticatedly able to threaten others in a way that's unnoticed could cause you to bully others as well. Right? Seems like people who cyberbully lack an empathy for others. They don't know what it's like to be in their shoes, so they think they're more powerful. They use bullying online to gain popularity and other things. They have poor relationships, and they're just not being monitored. Right? These are our sources, and I hope you enjoyed that.